All right. Hello, fifth grade educators. Welcome to this Introduction to Kid Governor webinar. My name is Brian Cofrancesco, and I'm the director of the National Kid Governor program at the Connecticut Democracy Center. We are thrilled that you are participating in Kid Governor this year, and we appreciate you making the time to join us tonight and to learn more about it. So thank you for the work you do, particularly teaching civics and social studies. It is so important for students to learn this, especially at the age of 10 or 11 for our fifth graders. So to get started, I wanted to just briefly tell you a little bit about who we are. The Connecticut Democracy Center is a nonprofit. We were founded in 1998, and we are dedicated to inspiring people of all ages to participate in civic life and strengthen their communities. Our work really lies at the intersection of history and civics. We teach about state government historically and today through educational programs, events, and we also have contracts with Connecticut's General Assembly to manage Connecticut's Old State House, which is a former Capitol building, and today it is a museum, and the Connecticut Network, which provides coverage of our three branches of government here in our state. One of our largest audiences at the Connecticut Democracy Center is K-12 students and teachers, who we serve through field trips and a variety of civics programs. Our organization created Kid Governor here in Connecticut 10 years ago, this month actually, and we have since expanded the program into other states to engage fifth graders and educators in authentic civic learning. Today, at this webinar, we have educators from all across the country who are tuning in. And that's because in each of your states, the Connecticut Democracy Center has partnered with a civics-focused nonprofit or state agency to run a Kid Governor affiliate program. In Nebraska, our affiliate is Civic Nebraska, and Juan Milan is the Kid Governor State Coordinator. In Oklahoma, our affiliate is the Oklahoma Institute for Child Advocacy, where Alicia Walters is the Kid Governor State Coordinator. In Vermont, our affiliate is the Vermont Secretary of State's office, where Robin Palmer is the state coordinator. In New Hampshire, our affiliate is New Hampshire Civics, where Joe Robichaud is the Kid Governor State Coordinator. And we run the Connecticut's Kid Governor program. If you would like, you can scan the QR code on the screen or go to kidgovernor.org/states, where you'll find links to each affiliate website and the contact information for the state coordinators I just mentioned. So as we get started, I'm going to launch a quick poll and ask for your feedback. The first poll today is, what state are you joining us from today? So if you could take just a moment to answer that and see where we have folks tuning in from. All right. So it looks like we have about 11% of our attendees are from here in Connecticut, 5 from New Hampshire, and 84% are tuning in from Vermont. So welcome to all of our Vermonters. I know there are folks from Oklahoma and Nebraska who are planning to connect in just a little bit. They're in a different time zone, so they're going to be connecting right after school. All right, and I'm going to launch one more poll for you. And based on who we have attending, think I might know how this one will go, but I'm curious to know how many years you've been participating in Kid Governor. So is this your first year, or have you been participating for a couple of years? All right, so let's take a look at the results. About 90% of you, this is your first year, so welcome all of you, and thank you for getting involved in this year's program. And about 10% of you are joining us for the second year. So wonderful. Thank you for coming back. All right, so I wanted to quickly go over a few learning goals for our session today. We're going to cover a lot, and so I'm going to go quickly to hopefully maximize our time and make sure we have some time for questions if there are things I haven't answered. We'll talk about how the Kid Governor program works, the ways for your class to participate, the resources that we have available to you, the statewide election process and what to expect, and what happens after the election. So if you have questions at all throughout this webinar, you can submit them through the Q&A feature in your Zoom toolbar, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. So let's just jump right in and talk about the Kid Governor program. I want to give you some initial context for Kid Governor by sharing some data on civic education in the United States. So, there's been a lot of talk in the news about the need and the importance of civic education. One of the reasons for that is that recent studies have shown that 66%, I should say only 66% of Americans can name all three branches of state government. And beyond that, 17% of Americans cannot name any of the three branches. And so facts like these are some of the impetus behind that current cry for improved civic education, both today and 10 years ago when we first created Kid Governor. And that's one of the problems we were working to address by creating this program. As you know, as teachers and as educators, schools are critically important places for civic education. However, today, 44% of school districts have reduced social studies education time since 2002. And I've talked with or heard from teachers all across the country who have very limited time for teaching social studies at the fifth grade level. And sometimes it's as little as 15 or 30 minutes each week. And this really resonates deeply with our team and with our affiliates around the country. We know that you balance a lot in your classrooms and that you may have limited time to teach social studies. So we appreciate that you're using that time to teach Kid Governor. And it's also why we designed the program to fit into your limited time without sacrificing the depth of instruction. Beyond that, studies find that 74% of elementary teachers cobble together or create their own social studies materials. And some of you I know, based on who's on the list, joining us today, may be in that situation yourselves. And that's why, as you'll see shortly, our resources are meant to be turnkey and one-stop shopping for teaching civics in state government in your state. We want it to be as easy as possible and something that you can use quickly and simply in your classroom. Now, despite these jarring statistics, one thing that's really positive is that civic education is one issue that has pretty substantial bipartisan support. One study finds that 97% of Democrats and Republicans agree schools should prepare students to be good citizens. And as our partners at the Civics Now Coalition say, the best way to strengthen our democracy is to teach it. And the Connecticut Democracy Center created Kid Governor to help you do just that. We believe that the younger students learn important lessons about civics, the better equipped and empowered they will be to participate both now and into the future. So, what is Kid Governor? It is a statewide, classroom-based civic education program. And while most civics programs tend to target secondary grade students, Kid Governor is exclusively for fifth graders. And again, we believe deeply that students should learn and practice civics from a young age, which is why we chose to target a younger demographic with this program. Kid Governor is also unique because it's open to all schools in a state. It is strictly nonpartisan, and it's just about the process of elections and voting. It's focused on state government and how it works in your state. So it's not just generic about state government, it's customized to reflect your state's government. It's rooted in project and skills-based learning. It's a model example of authentic civic learning because at the core of this program is a real election with real consequences. And it's timed to coincide with Election Day in November, really to emphasize the authenticity of voting. And importantly, it is completely free for schools and students. Everything you need to participate is included. Our tagline, as you may have noticed at the beginning of the presentation, is that Kid Governor empowers fifth graders to change the world. So imagine your students not just learning about government and civics, but actively participating in it, nominating candidates, casting votes, and seeing that their voices make a real impact. And that's what the Kid Governor program does. It brings civics to life as students move from learning about state government in theory to actively engaging as young citizens. So I'm going to put up another poll. What are you hoping students will gain from participating in Kid Governor? You can write Just a short answer. I think it's limited to 200 characters. Something quick about what you hope your students will gain from participating. All right, so Zoom will not let me share the results out for you to see, but um, learning about government, being empowered, knowledge, issues, speaking, skills, what it means to be involved in government, the whole election process, civic knowledge, confidence, being empowered, knowing that their voices matter. And I'm so excited to see all this because this is our goals for what your students will have as their takeaways too. Um, we really see this program as teaching students a number of civic skills and life skills, many of which, I just read aloud in your responses. Some of the biggest takeaways that we identify are students learning about leadership, teamwork, and collaboration, assessing and addressing issues that they see in their communities and in their state, building research skills, which is really important, especially as students move into upper grades. Empathy, as far as being able to empathize with other issues and people experiencing different situations and circumstances, or not even just people, animals, communities, the environment. Critical thinking and problem solving, persuasion, and how to convince other people to agree with you or to participate and support you. Voting and civic engagement. And what we are most proud of is that they learn all of these skills in a practical and real world context by participating in this authentic election. After its first decade, Kid Governor is a tested and proven program and has been recognized with both a medallion award from the National Association of Secretaries of State and with a Leadership in History award from the American Association for State and Local History. So let's dive in on how the program works. Let's talk about, to start, the process that gets us from the start of the school year to the election of a kid governor. And it all begins with you, the educators, guiding students in learning about state government and leadership. This foundation gives them the knowledge they need to participate in the program and helps them understand the context for the election that's coming up. Next, students identify and research community issues that matter to them. So these are real problems that they see in their communities, and the students begin thinking critically about how they might be solved. So issues might be food insecurity, bullying, animal or human rights, environmental issues, mental and physical health, and so many more examples. And the students have the freedom to choose an issue that they care about, which makes their research and the whole learning process all the more personal and meaningful for them. From there, students develop campaign platforms, and each platform must include 3 specific ways that fifth graders can make a difference on the issue they've chosen. And this step ensures that the ideas are practical, can create real change, and can empower the state's fifth graders to get involved. Once platforms are created, students hold school primaries. Each school has the opportunity to elect one nominee to advance to the state level as a possible candidate for kid governor. That nominee works with their classmates to record a campaign video outlining their community issue and 3-point platform. The video and the completed entry forms are submitted to the state's affiliate organization. And even though not every student may run for kid governor, they still can participate fully in the program. So students who don't run still have the opportunity to research issues. They can build their own platforms to experience the process. And of course, they get to vote in the election. We really feel it's important that every student has a voice in this whole process. Then from there, 7 final candidates from across the state advance to the statewide election, and fifth graders watch their campaign videos. And after watching and then analyzing them and considering each platform, each fifth grader casts a vote for the candidate they believe should be the state's kid governor. Finally, the candidate who receives the most votes, I'm 1 click behind. The candidate who receives the most votes is elected kid governor, and the 6 remaining finalists serve as their cabinet. So together they form a team that represents student voices from all over their state, and those students serve a 1-year term in office beginning in January. And this whole process teaches students not just about civics and leadership and democracy, but it also shows them that their voices matter and that they can make a real impact in their communities. So, this is the overall process that fifth graders in your state will be going through this October. And there are 2 ways that your class can choose to participate in that process. When we designed Kid Governor initially, teachers told us that the program needed to be flexible so that all fifth grade classes could participate regardless of how much time they could devote to social studies. And we listened and created 2 ways to participate. One is as a voting only class, and 2 is as a nominating and voting class. And if you haven't registered yet, when you do register to participate on your state's Kid Governor website, you will choose one of these 2 ways to participate. Voting only classes, as the name suggests, only vote in November's statewide election. These classes participate in a few lessons and then vote in the election. This method of participation is good for schools that do not have a lot of time allotted for social studies or whose fall social studies curriculum may not focus on civics. You can teach a selection of lessons from the toolkit for voting only classes and then have your students vote. And this will ensure they're represented in the election and have a voice in who your state's next kid governor is. If you want to experience the full program, you can register as a nominating and voting class and nominate one student from your school as a possible candidate for kid governor. Nominating and voting classes receive the same core lessons as voting only classes, but they also receive activities to guide them through the nomination process that happens in October. So this is a quick outline of the lessons that each type of class will receive. So as you see on the left, nominating and voting classes receive a toolkit that contains 14 lessons that cover the 3 branches of state government in your state: leadership and voting, identifying and researching community issues, developing platforms, holding primaries, recording campaign video, and then voting in the November election. Voting only classes receive a subset of those lessons, 6 in total, which focus on your state's 3 branches of government: leadership and elections, and voting in November's statewide election. So it's time for another quick poll. How is your class participating this year? So are you registered as a nominating and voting class or as a voting only class? Or are you still deciding? Okay, so 72% of you are nominating and voting classes, 6% are voting only, and 22% are undecided. So hopefully by the end of today's webinar, you'll have a better sense of what each option offers and what will be most suitable for your classroom and your students' needs. So now that we've talked about the main points of the program, I want to give you a sense of what the timeline is of dates so you can see everything in context. So we recommend that nominating and voting classes begin their lessons on Monday, September 29th. Now, I'll say a few times throughout this webinar, the lessons that we provide in the toolkits are encouraged, but they are by no means recommended. We recommend that you review them, go through them, and see what will work for your class and for your students. So if you were to start on September 29th, we say that's a good date because it'll help you fit in all of the lessons before the deadline for nominations. But if you're going to condense, modify, adapt the lessons as they are, you may be able to do it on a shorter timeline, but you can also extend it to a longer timeline. October 23rd is this year's deadline for nominations, and that means that your student nominee's campaign video and entry forms must be submitted to your state affiliate organization by this deadline. We recommend that voting only classes begin their lessons on Monday, October 27th. But again, that's a recommended date to fit the lessons in time for the election. Please take the time to review what lessons you're going to teach and make the timing work for your class. Each state will be announcing their 7 statewide election candidates by Friday, October 31st, because the following Monday, November 3rd, is when the statewide elections begin. That's the exciting period from the day before Election Day through the following Wednesday, when you will be able to show your students the 7 candidates' videos and submit their votes for the 2026 Kid Governor. Each state will plan to announce their elected Kid Governor between November 17th and 21st. And each Kid Governor and their cabinet will be sworn into office in January or early February of 2026 at each state's Inauguration Day event. And starting in February and March, cabinet meetings will be held monthly for the new Kid Governor, be held regularly for the new Kid Governor and cabinet, and each state will determine the frequency of those meetings. So I've talked a little bit about the process and how the program works. And now I want to hit on some of the resources that are available to you to help you implement the Kid Governor program in your school. So before I talk on the specific resources, I want to emphasize that there are 3 things to know about what we offer as far as our tools. 1, they are turnkey yet flexible. And by this, I mean that whether your background is in social studies education or a different subject like language arts, math, or science, and you have never taught a day of social studies in your life, we hope you can pick up our toolkit of lessons and easily teach the Kid Governor program. At the same time, they're meant to be flexible. So the lessons are encouraged, but not required. And we hope you will take the time to modify and combine them and to teach those that meet the needs of your students and the time you have available. I've heard from some teachers that their students learned state government in 3rd grade or 4th grade. And if that's the case for you, by all means, use those lessons as a quick review or just skip them entirely and jump to the content that fits with your curriculum and the time you have available. Second is that the resources and really the entire Kid Governor program are rooted in authenticity. Our resources create authentic civic learning experiences for your students so that they will carry the lessons and the skills that they develop with them throughout their K-12 career and beyond. And all of our lessons have a decade of teacher reviewing, testing, and improving behind them. We distribute surveys to students and teachers after each election season, and we use the feedback every year to strengthen the lessons and the resources. So you can teach these lessons with confidence and know that they have been successfully and impactfully implemented in classrooms all across the country. So with that in mind, your state's core documents are going to be the primary resources that you will need to implement Kid Governor. You'll receive links to those resources after you register, and they're also available on your state's Kid Governor website. It'll be your state's 2-letter abbreviation, so either CT for Connecticut, NE for Nebraska, NH for New Hampshire, OK for Oklahoma, or VT for Vermont, .kidgovernor.org, and head to the Educator and Classroom Resources page to find links to everything for your state. The core documents include the annual startup guide, which should be your first stop in preparing for the year's program. And that's whether you're new to the program or a returning teacher, because that document will include links to materials, this year's program dates, participation tips, and more. For affiliate programs that have completed at least one election cycle, the annual startup guide will also include information about the state's sitting Kid Governor and cabinet members. So to our friends in Nebraska and Vermont, who this is your first year of having a Kid Governor program, you will see in next year's startup guide information about your sitting Kid Governor. The Parent Guardian Permission Packet is an optional resource for nominating and voting classes. It's a letter that can be sent home with students for family members to review prior to the start of the toolkit lessons. This letter explains the Kid Governor program and it outlines the expectations of the elected Kid Governor and cabinet members. And it asks parents and guardians to determine whether or not their child can run in a school primary. Again, this is completely optional, but we offer it as a way for you to determine from the start which of your students can or cannot run for kid governor. And it can help you avoid getting through the entire primary process only to learn that your nominee does not have permission to advance to the state level. The two toolkits that we provide contain the lessons that will guide you in teaching the entire Kid Governor program. There is one toolkit for nominating and voting classes, which you can see on the top, and there is another for voting only classes, which you can see at the bottom. Nominating and voting classes again have 14 lessons, and voting only classes are given access to 6. Please remember these lessons are not required. We really want you to modify, combine, and skip as you see fit. And finally, the rules and entry forms document contains the information and required forms for nominating a student from your school. If your school is nominating a student to run for Kid Governor, this document will answer many of the questions you may have and the questions of your nominee's family. It talks about the process, it talks about the campaign video rules, the expectations of the Kid Governor and cabinet members, and it also includes all the paperwork that needs to be submitted by October 23rd. Registered teachers also receive access to a Google shared drive of free digital resources, including a video that introduces each lesson, Google Forms versions of lessons, Google Slides versions of the worksheets in the toolkits, book analysis lessons, and more. These resources can be shared with students, and if you teach in a Google district, they can be integrated with Google Classroom for easier assigning, collecting responses, and grading. Some states have also added state-specific resources, so take a careful look through your shared drive. You might find videos from state officials explaining their role in government, Google Slides presentations about state government, Bitmoji classrooms, and translations of some program materials. And again, those are not specific to every state. Some states have created them as additional resources for you. So since a number of you are planning to nominate a student from your school, I want to spend a few minutes explaining the nomination process. I think this will also be helpful context for any voting only teachers who are joining us today, so that you understand the process that precedes the election, and in case you consider nominating a student in the future. So I'll start by sharing a few of the hard and fast rules we have in the nominating process. And first, it's that each school can only nominate one student. And that's a firm rule across all participating states to keep the ballot manageable and to keep it fair. But at the same time, there is no limit on how many students can develop platforms and run for office in your school. So in some schools, every student develops a platform, even if they don't want to run for Kid Governor. And in other schools, teachers will work with a small handful of students who want to run maybe before school or during lunch or even after school. So do what works best for your school and your class. Just make sure that only one student is submitted as a nominee on October 23rd. Beyond that, each nominee must, of course, be in 5th grade, have a clear platform with 3 points as part of a plan of action. And 3 is important. They cannot have 2, they cannot have 4 points, they cannot have 5. They must have 3. They must create a campaign video about their platform, and they must have the required permissions from their parent or guardian, teacher, and principal. Please note that nominating a student from your school does not guarantee that they will be a final candidate in the statewide election. And that's because only 7 nominees will advance to each state's election. And if more than 7 nominations are received, a committee of civics and education professionals will narrow the number of nominees down to 7. The nominating and voting lessons that you receive will guide you and your students through the nominating process. The lessons and accompanying worksheets build on each other, so students strengthen their ideas and platforms as they move through the process. The lessons follow the 4 dimensions of the social studies inquiry arc, which will be familiar to you if your state's social studies curriculum or framework follows the college, career, and civic life, or C3 framework. So that includes developing questions and planning inquiries, And this initial phase involves students formulating compelling and supporting questions to guide their investigation. And it's about identifying a problem or issue that sparks curiosity and then developing specific questions that they can explore. The second dimension, applying disciplinary tools and concepts. This dimension focuses on using the tools and concepts from various social studies disciplines like history, geography, economics, and civics to investigate the questions. And students might analyze maps, primary source documents, or economic data to gather evidence. The third dimension, evaluating sources and using evidence. This is where students will learn to critically evaluate the credibility of the sources they find. So they'll learn to distinguish between different types of sources, perhaps primary and secondary, and they'll use evidence from these sources to support claims and build the arguments of their platform. And the fourth dimension, communicating conclusions and taking informed action. This is the final dimension, and it focuses on students communicating their findings and taking action based on the inquiry that they've just gone through. And so that would involve writing a speech, creating a platform, and possibly creating a campaign video in the end with their plan for addressing the issue that they investigated. So the wonderful part of Kid Governor and the nomination process is that students get to identify a community issue that they care about. And this makes their learning more meaningful. It really builds a connection between the student and their selected issue, and it hopefully inspires them to carry out their platforms regardless of if they advance to the state level or become a Kid Governor or cabinet member. And on the screen, you see just a few of the many, many community issues students identified in last year's election cycle across all of our states. There are just far too many to list out, but you can see examples on any of the state's websites if you would like to get a sense of the issues and the campaign videos that are being created each year. We encourage classes to work together when possible, to really collaborate on making their nominee's campaign video. When they have the chance to rally around a candidate, it builds support and it builds excitement. And it's really an opportunity for many students to participate in this process, just like adults do in the elections that we participate in. So if you're interested in collaboration, Lesson 13 of the Nominating and Voting Toolkit provides an optional framework for campaign committees if you would like to engage the entire class. But again, that is not required. That is completely optional. And the whole process of creating a campaign video is also a great opportunity for your students to get creative. As you can see on the screen, and if you have a chance to explore videos of past nominees from your state or from others, you'll see that there are a lot of different approaches students take, techniques. They include other students in their videos. They have testimonials from their friends about why they're a good leader. Lots of different opportunities to explore. But it's also important to keep in mind that this video should be student made and that the strength of the platform is most important to students' candidacy. So it's about the platform, not about the video quality or the production value, because those elements have no bearing on whether or not the student's video advances to the election. So we really encourage you to keep that in mind. Students should be paying careful attention to the 3 points that they identify, making sure that they are well researched, that they have good information on their issue, and that the platform they put together is realistic with options and opportunities for fifth graders to play a role in it. So remember, content and ideas matter far more than the video editing, because a simple video recorded on a Chromebook or on a cell phone can be a winner. Lesson 14 in the Nominating and Voting Toolkit and Lesson 6 in the Voting Only Toolkit include a rubric to guide students in analyzing campaign videos during the election. It helps them determine what's important in a campaign video and what they should consider when casting their votes. And that rubric is also a good tool for students to reference when they're creating their campaign videos so that they know what voters will be looking for. We also have some hard and fast rules about the videos themselves that are important to keep in mind. First, each video must be 1 to 3 minutes long. Please make sure your video is not 59 seconds or 3 minutes and 1 second. To be fair to all nominees, each state affiliate can only accept videos that are exactly between 1 and 3 minutes long. Videos can only include the nominee's first name. No last name, no school, and no town. And this is intentional. This is to avoid any bias students may have for or against a school or a town. And so as you record your video, be mindful of where the student's name, the school's name, or the town's name may appear, and keeping in mind on clothing and shirts, in signage, on walls behind the student, the floor of the gymnasium, if you record something in there, if you're recording outside, if your school's name or sign appears, make sure that you do not include those in your video. Your state affiliate also will not share students' last names, school names, or towns until after the election is complete. Videos must include the nominees' reasons for wanting to be kid governor, their leadership qualities, and I emphasize qualities, not necessarily their qualifications, and their platform, the community issue and 3-point plan. Videos cannot contain any copyrighted music or images, and the videos must be submitted in one of the formats that you see on the screen. And I know this is a lot to take in at once. All of these rules are also outlined in the nominating and voting toolkit, as well as in the rules and entry forms. So you will come across these multiple times through your nominating process. And so by October 23rd, as you'll read in the rules and entry forms, you must submit the following to your state's affiliate program: a completed entry form for the student who is your nominee, a headshot photo of the nominee, which will be used in publicity if the student advances to the statewide election, required photography and video release forms. And each state has slightly different requirements for these forms. So please make sure you read the rules and entry forms carefully to ensure that you're submitting what's required. And make sure the forms are completed in their entirety, including all check boxes checked and signature lines signed. And of course, your student's campaign video must be included in that submission. So as I've said a few times, nominations are due Thursday, October 23rd at 5 p.m. local time. You will submit your nominations directly to your state's Kid Governor program, not to us at the Connecticut Democracy Center. And your state program will share a Google form as October 23rd gets closer, where you can submit all of these attachments at once. So just after nominations are submitted, just a matter of days, it will be time for your statewide election. And each state will hold its election for just over 1 week in November. And it begins the day before Election Day, so that Monday. This year's elections will be Monday, November 3rd through Wednesday, November 12th. So you will have this full window of time to show your students the 7 candidates' videos, have your students analyze the videos and platforms, vote, and for you to tally the totals and submit them to your state. The election is all about authenticity. So your state affiliate will email you an official ballot modeled on your state's own election ballot that you can print for your students to use when they vote. The printed ballots, though, don't need to be mailed back to anyone, though. You will tally all of the totals and submit them via a Google form. And I want to emphasize that it's the teachers, not individual students, who will submit the totals. So you will remain in control of the process. And again, the deadline for voting and submitting your votes will be November 12th at 5 p.m. local time. Now, depending on the time you have available, I really encourage you to get creative about how you engage your students in the excitement of voting. As you can see on the screen, teachers have innovated on this program in so many ways. Many will set up a polling station in their class or in their school where all the students, all the fifth graders will fill out their ballots, put them in their ballot box and get an I voted sticker or something to show that they've submitted their vote and carried out their civic duty. Some will even have students serve as registrars or ID checkers, depending on how polling places are managed in your state. There's a lot of creative ways to innovate and expand on what we've provided to you as the election itself. Each state is also holding its own photo contest during the election. So we encourage you to take photos of your students participating in Kid Governor lessons or voting, and then submit them to your state program. You can also share them on social media. You can tag your state's program. So it'll be, again, your two-letter abbreviation, followed by Kid Governor. That's the handle. And then you can also use the photo contest hashtag, which is also the two-letter state abbreviation, followed by KG Votes 2025. And each state will choose one winner of their photo contest to feature on social media. We ask that you make sure all students shown in your photos have permission to be photographed. The winning photo may be used in future Kid Governor materials, including those created by your state affiliate and those created by our team at the Connecticut Democracy Center. Then after the polls close on November 12th at 5, each state's affiliate will verify and tabulate the votes, and the student with the most votes will be the 2026 Kid Governor, and the 6 finalists will become their cabinet. The week after the election, each affiliate will announce the winner of their election, and that looks different in each state. It could be a virtual announcement, an in-person announcement at the winner's school, a recorded video, or something completely different and creative. So while the results will not be made public until the official announcement, teachers of nominees will be notified in advance if their student did not advance or was not elected. But that information will be kept confidential amongst the conversations with the state program and teachers, and then the public announcement will be made on a much larger scale. Now, this announcement, of course, is just the start of the Kid Governor experience for those 7 students, the Kid Governor and their cabinet, as they start their one-year term of leadership. And that's a really important part of this program. This is not a governor for a day or just a one-and-done election. It is a full-year term of leadership. And our goal is that not only do the Kid Governor and the cabinet members serve, but that 5th grade classes will follow along and participate throughout the student's term too. So the Kid Governor's primary responsibility is to carry out the 3 points of their platform. They will actively work with their state's affiliate and their state coordinator to achieve their 3 points. They may create resources, tools, or videos because their goal is to inspire 5th grade constituents and other students to address their campaign issue in their own communities. The Kid Governor may also be invited to meet or speak with students and teachers or community members, and everything that they do related to their platform and their official role will be done through the state coordinator. The Kid Governor's work is guided and managed by that state affiliate. So teachers, you won't need to worry about taking on extra responsibilities beyond the student's normal classroom participation, although you will be kept in the loop as to the Kid Governor's work and their responsibilities. Although the statewide election is in November, we really hope your class will stay connected and follow the work of the Kid Governor through the term. And as I mentioned, there will be opportunities for your students to support the Kid Governor's platform in your own community. The elected Kid Governor and cabinet members will be sworn into office in January or early February at your state's inauguration day. Each state will plan its own event that's unique to them to kick off the student's term. And I hope you'll keep an eye out for updates as the election comes and just afterwards for what your state has planned for the inauguration. And as we've talked about, the Kid Governor also works with and leads their cabinet, who are the 6 finalists from the election. And the cabinet's a really important component of the Kid Governor program because it elevates the other students' voices and the issues that they ran on with their platforms. The students get to spend the year working together as they advance not only their platforms, but as they collaborate with each other and support the elected Kid Governor's work. The cabinet meets anywhere from quarterly to monthly, and either in person or virtually, and that depends on the state that you're in. The Kid Governor and cabinet members also write blog posts throughout their term, and that's a way for them to share their platform and ways that students can make a difference directly with students. So once their blog is launched, it's a good tool for your students to explore too throughout the year. Every March, the Connecticut Democracy Center hosts a leadership summit for all kid governors and cabinet members, which brings these students together to really empower them as leaders and encourage them to work together, both within and across states. So this is a really unique opportunity and an incentive for students who are running for kid governor. And those who are the final 7 will have the opportunity to participate this upcoming March 2026. And I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce you to some of the kid governors from this current year to give you a sense of what students are working on and what their experience has been. So to do that, I'm going to play a brief clip from an NBC Nightly News Kids Edition segment from Lester Holt and Laura Jarrett that aired this past February.
Turning now to our Inspiring Kids series, 3 fifth graders recently took on a new role in their home states. Kid Governor. There is such a thing. The Kid Governors were recently elected by their classmates and sworn into office. It's all part of a program to educate kids about government and get them involved. Let's get details from our friend Laura Jarrett.
And so long as you continue a citizen thereof.
Just a few weeks ago, the newest group of young leaders were sworn in.
The 2025 Oregon Kid Governor is Rosie.
Jade Adams is our new Kid Governor.
Kid Governors, elected by their fellow 5th graders in Connecticut, Oregon, and New Hampshire.
Kid Governor is like a big program where it teaches kids how to be a leader.
I wanted to run for Kid Governor to learn about civics and help create a change in our community by creating a plan to act on climate change.
The idea behind the Kid Governor program, get kids involved and excited about civics, which is the study of rights and responsibilities of citizens. The goal? To teach students important lessons about state government, voting, and elections.
Some kids in my class, they were like, if you become the Kid Governor, you've got to have like a day where we have a pizza party. And I was like, no, I can't really do that. I mean, it has nothing to do with animal testing, but I'll think about it.
In fact, each Kid Governor candidate runs on a platform, which is a set of issues important to them, and pledges to focus on them if elected. The students running must identify issues impacting their communities, do their homework by researching and looking for possible solutions, and come up with a campaign video.
Hi, I'm Coyote and I'm running for Kid Governor because I believe every student deserves to feel safe at school.
Connecticut's Kid Governor Coyote Martinez ran on a platform to stop bullying and keep schools safe.
Many students feel unsafe because of violence and bullying. If you feel unsafe, it's hard to focus on learning. We need to change that. My name is Coyote Martinez, and my platform is school safety.
New Hampshire's Kid Governor Jade Adams, who is passionate about our four-legged friends, is focusing her attention on animal testing.
Hi, I'm Jade, and I want to be your next Kid Governor. My issue is animal testing. My platform is to make New Hampshire the 13th state to ban animal testing.
Meantime, Oregon's Kid Governor Rosie Lanega is taking up climate change in her home state.
If I become the Kid Governor, I promise to work with you to make Oregon a better place. A vote for Rosie is a vote for a better, cleaner community. Climate change is important to me because I'm concerned about what's going to happen when there are heat waves and ice storms and wildfires that are making it hard for the plants and animals and people that call Oregon home. Oregon is a beautiful place, and I want to have it stay that way.
Each Kid Governor also supported by a cabinet made up of other candidates who ran for Kid Governor. Throughout this year, each Kid Governor and their cabinet will meet regularly to help advance their platforms.
But we'll hold like 30-minute Zoom meetings, and we'll talk about our plans and what we're going to do to act.
And if you're curious about your own state government, this year's Kid Governors have some advice on what you can do to get involved.
School is like a place where kids can actually say what they think So I think that's why kids should like speak up and change things that's happening.
I would say you don't have to be an adult to make a change in your community or to stand up for what you believe in. Speak on topics that are important to you and serve others.
Kids engaging in civics in a program hoping to inspire the next generation of leaders.
And maybe one day when I get older, I can even be president of the United States.
So I hope you enjoyed that video. We had a comment in the chat, not sure why this video is making me cry, but it is. It's a great video. And I tell you this, that video in particular gets me every time because it's such a good encapsulation of not even just the kid governors who were featured, three of them in this particular news story, but really that compassion and that energy and empathy that fifth graders have. And that's what we're trying to harness with this program and giving them a platform to discover their voices and make their voices heard. So before I answer questions, and if you do have questions, you can drop them in the Q&A feature, and I'll get to them in just a moment. I wanted to share this quote from Dr. Miguel Cardona, which some of you may know as the former U.S. Secretary of Education. And his daughter actually ran for kid governor here in Connecticut when she was in fifth grade. And reflecting on her experience, he said what you see on the screen. I remember the passion she came home with, talking about her project. It brought out a sense of pride and agency in my daughter that I hadn't seen before. And for us, that's really what it's all about. We use that tagline, empowering fifth graders to change the world. The program may be called Kid Governor, but it's not just about the student who is elected to serve as kid governor. It's about all participants learning they have a voice and they have the power to make a difference. Dr. Cardona's daughter did not advance beyond her school level, but the program helped her develop pride in herself and in her community, and a sense of agency that we hope will inspire a lifetime of active participation for her. No matter whether the candidate wins, every student leaves with civic skills and pride in having a voice. So I'm going to take a look and see if we have any questions. If you do have any that I haven't answered, please drop them in the Q&A. And of course, if any questions come to you after this afternoon's webinar, you're welcome to contact me, but you can also contact your state coordinator who will be able to help you and give you more information about the program in your state. So a question that came through, are there video models for students to view? Yes, absolutely. So if you are in New Hampshire and Oklahoma, states where we've had Kid Governor program for a few years, you can visit the state's website and you can find examples of videos from past years. And again, each state's website is the two-letter abbreviation .kidgovernor.org. Or if you go to the national website, you can find links to those different state pages. If you're in Vermont or Nebraska, which are new to the Kid Governor program, and again, welcome, you can head to any of the other state websites and find samples. If you go to our website here in Connecticut, ct.kidgovernor.org, you'll see on the left a way to get to past elections, and you can watch videos from any of our previous 10 years. You can take a look at not just the Kid Governor and cabinet members, but you can also look at the students who ran but did not advance to the state level. Lots of great resources and tools. You can also, if it's easier, go directly to each state's YouTube channel where you'll be able to see the videos that have been uploaded as examples and inspiration for you and your students. Okay. Someone asking, saying, I have the toolkit for nominating and voting classes, but looking for the voting only. So if you go to your state's website and head to the educator and classroom resources page, you'll be able to download either of the two toolkits. You'll see them both linked there. If you have any trouble finding them, you can contact your state coordinator and they'll be able to send you direct links to the file. But everything should be posted and easily accessible right on the website. Okay, we signed up for nominating and voting, but it's our first year. Congratulations and thanks for signing up. What if we don't make the deadline? Just asking out of fear that we'll get bogged down and decide to vote only. Great question. And I would say this can work both ways, where you could nominate or sign up to nominate and realize you don't have the time to go through the process, or you sign up to vote and you decide you want to nominate a student. At any time, you can change your voting or nominating and voting status. Just contact your state coordinator, and in a moment, I'll be putting up their names and email addresses. You can change your status at any time. And if you aren't able to nominate and follow through on that, I would just request on behalf of the states that you send your coordinator a quick email so that they know not to anticipate a video from you. Having been through this process many times, I know that we're often watching as the videos come through, and we want to make sure that teachers received the emails with instructions, that the deadline hasn't slipped by them. So it just helps when we don't see a video coming in that we know that you've decided not to submit one. That's a-okay. If you do decide not to nominate, I really hope you will still vote. It's so important that fifth graders get the chance to participate in this election. So we completely understand if it's just not in the cards for this year to nominate a student, but please try if you can to make the time for your students to vote in the election. Great question. The timing is short. 13th lesson won't happen until the fourth week, and that's when the videos are due. And we completely understand. When we first created Kid Governor, we were worried about the timing, but we talked to so many teachers in shaping and designing how this program would work that we kept hearing that to really make it authentic, it had to coincide with election day. So there's a lot to get in those first few weeks. So a couple of tips, as I've said a few times, not all of the lessons are required. So you can pick and choose as you see fit. So although lesson 13 is recommended for that last week in creating the video, if you think it will take you more time than that, by all means, you can start that process a little earlier. You can start the lessons at any time. You don't have to wait for the recommended start date, and you can make them work with your schedule as you see fit. Also, I know it's not an easy undertaking to create that campaign video, and it may take a few days, but also just think about what you can do to cut down on the amount of effort that goes into the actual production of it. So to emphasize again, the strength of the platform is what's most important rather than the production quality. So if you do have to wait closer to the deadline, just think about how you might be able to record the video simply on a Chromebook or using a cell phone so that the amount of time you might expect needed for editing is reduced by a little bit. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. How do teachers handle situations where multiple students want to run, but only one can be nominated? Excellent question. I once visited a school that had 66 fifth graders. 36 of them all ran for Kid Governor. They all had to create a platform, but 36 of them actually threw their hat in the ring as a candidate. And so I've seen teachers do a number of things. If you have a really big pool, having a primary or multiple primaries, I should say, based on strength of platform and maybe a speech. Some classes have done almost like a debate style primary where students have to answer questions about their goals and their platform and what they'd want to achieve. Another way to do it is to advance only a certain number of students from each classroom towards a state primary. And then each classroom can work out a way to narrow down from however many you have to one or two students to advance to your school-wide level. Great question. Okay, just reading over these really briefly. Is there someone I can contact if I get stuck or if I have questions? Yes, absolutely. That is what your state coordinator is there for, and I'll show their names and contact information in a moment. While we're here at the Connecticut Democracy Center to help as we can, our role is to really support the states and the state coordinators. Your state coordinator is the one who is on the ground and can help you with the day-to-day work for carrying out the program. So they are your first point of contact if you have any questions at all. How do teachers support students with disabilities in participating fully? I think that's one of the beauties in having the lessons be flexible and up to your discretion for modifying, is you can make them work for your students and your students' needs in your classroom. I have seen students with all types of abilities who have not only run for office, but have made it to the statewide election and have even made it the step further and been a member of the cabinet or been elected as kid governor. Um, and actually just talking with a teacher this week, she commented on how it's amazing how in implementing this program, it breaks down a lot of those barriers that students may feel. And you see students who might have been more reluctant or might not have felt empowered or the ability, whether physically or otherwise, to participate in a program like this really shine and find a way to put together a platform and earn the support of their classmates. So I think you will find that there are students of all abilities who really come through, and we really empower you to adapt those lessons to make them work and scaffold them for the students in your particular classroom. All right. We have a couple more coming in. I want to be respectful of your time, so I'll ask them briefly and then we will wrap up. We have a super small school in class, 7 students. I wonder about involving older kids to help with video production. I also wonder if we have a few kids who want to run. Can I have other kids vote from other grade bands, or must it all unfold within the class constellation only? Thank you for that question. Really great question. We do ask that it only be fifth graders who run. That's the requirement, but also only fifth graders that vote in a primary and in the election. Well, besides that, though, we have many classes who participate who might be fourth, fifth grade, fifth, sixth grade. And what they've found successful is finding other ways to engage those students who are in the other grades. So, for example, if you have a polling place in your class, having the fourth or the sixth graders be the ones to take the students' IDs, check them in as voters, give them their ballots, um, giving them the role of almost like a poll worker. You can have those other students if you'd like support or encourage or advise the students as they're running. Sometimes we've found that the older students are able to help with the video production because they might have the ability to edit that fifth graders may not. So you can find creative ways of engaging them. We just ask that it only be fifth graders who vote in any primary or the election itself. Okay. Let me just check. I think we have one more left. Okay, actually, I'll do these last two. What role do non-nominee classes have after the statewide election? Another really great question. And, as I said, this program really can be seen as a year-round civics program because we want fifth grade classes to not only vote in the election, but to follow along with the student and the cabinet members who are serving in office. And I really see that as a way to dig a little deeper on the authenticity. In our own lives, we cast votes for people who are running in elections. And then because they are our local, our state, or our federal officials, we follow along with what they're doing in their terms. So we want kids to do the same thing. So even if you don't have a student who is the kid governor or the cabinet, we hope you'll follow along with what they're doing through their terms. Part of why we have them work so closely with their affiliate program and to carry out their platform is that they provide opportunities for civic engagement for their constituents who either elected them or if they're the reason that they're in office. So, for example, your state may hold a poster contest connected with the kid governor's platform, or a cabinet member who's focused on the environment might encourage schools to have a cleanup day, or a student who's addressing hunger or homelessness might be encouraging schools to hold a food drive. And things like that, they will be sharing throughout the year. And those are opportunities for you to bring in quick projects or components to support the students' platforms. Okay, and our last question. Oh, how can teachers integrate the platform into class activities? I think I just answered that. There's a number of ways you can do that, and you can follow along beyond the election on your state's Kid Governor social media. You can also follow along with emails or look for any email updates from your state coordinator. All right, so to be respectful of your time, I'm going to move towards wrapping up. I have just one more poll question. What excites you most about bringing the Kid Governor program to your students? This is another open-ended question, so I'll give you 20 or 30 seconds to just type out a quick answer. Okay. So what excites you most about bringing the Kid Governor program to your students? Engaging them in civics in their communities, engagement, and the ready-to-go lessons. We'd love to hear that. An authentic opportunity to see children in action and learning to make change. Getting excited about government and real issues. Student excitement, extend their knowledge of the voting process, see what they care about and what they want to dive into. Great answers. And I really want to thank you for bringing this program into your classroom and for joining us here today. Um, on the screen, you can see the names and the email addresses of your state coordinators. And again, these are the folks who are working with the Connecticut Democracy Center and me to implement this program in your state. And so they are the best point of contact if you have any questions. They're the one that you'll be hearing from as your program and your election gets underway. So please don't hesitate to reach out to them if you have any questions or need more information. So with that, thank you once again for participating in Kid Governor. I hope you enjoy the upcoming election and hope it really inspires you and your students to be engaged in your communities and to be excited about elections and voting in our communities. It was great to connect with all of you. Hope to hear from you again, and best of luck in the upcoming election. Take care and have a great night. Bye-bye.